Today's podcast is brought to you by Introduction to Online Business Made Simple, a 6-part audio course that teaches you how to get started with your online venture. Find out more at usingyourpower.com/course.
Hi, thanks for joining Using Your Power. Today is episode 50, and my name is Maveen.
And I'm David Andrew Weve.
And how are you, David?
I'm great, thanks. I'm really powered up. How about you?
I'm pretty excited, man. 50 episodes into this podcast already, so looks like time is starting to fly by.
It really is, actually, and I'm amped for episode 50. It is certainly a minor accomplishment, which is why we want to celebrate with our listeners as well. But, you know, most people don't get to episode 50 until after probably a year or so of podcasting. We started last October, so we're there in basically 6 to 8 months, which is probably way ahead of schedule for where most other people find themselves within that time frame.
Absolutely. You know, I know at the beginning of the year, I talked to you and said, you know, one of my goals was to have 2 podcasts released per week. You know, that would give us 104 at the end of the year, right? So that was kind of our goal, and I think we're on track to get there. And, you know, I know we've missed a couple of days probably where we didn't post just based on our schedule and whatnot, but I think we're back on track, and you know, we could probably still get there.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the 2-day-a-week schedule was something that you were pushing for, and I think at some point you even said you wanted to do 5 days or possibly 7 days a week, which, who knows, maybe that is something that's coming down the line. I think for now, based on our schedules and work and everything, all the other involvements that we have, twice a week is the max. But we've actually even overtaken my podcast, The New Music Industry, which we would not have overtaken except for the fact that, you know, because I used to have Dogcast Entrepreneurship. I stopped that after 150 or some odd episodes and then rebooted my podcast as a new one. So that one's only up to, you know, episode 40 something right now. So it's funny how we've sort of overtaken that with our podcast.
No, for sure, right? And I think that's the same idea with the blog. I think we've probably done too, is like, you know, on our 2 separate websites. I know my goal again there was to write two articles a week, or at least introduce 2 new articles a week to the readership. I think you have a similar goal as well.
To release 2 posts a week, yeah. I mean, 3 posts, including the weekly digest. That's how I've been keeping my schedule for a long time.
Yeah, me too. So 3, exactly. I didn't count the weekly digest, but yes, 3 as well. I think that's more of a review, so I really don't count it. But the nice thing about both of our reviews is we kind of talk about what we've done on the Music Entrepreneur HQ, the discoveryourlifetoday.com, and then we kind of talk a little bit about what we've actually done on usingyourpower.com as well, which is kind of a nice way to let people know that we are working separately, but we're also kind of working together as well on numerous projects.
Absolutely. I like that. And that's one of the reasons why I really push the weekly digest now. As small as a piece of content that it is, it's just an entry point for so many people. So for quote unquote snackable content, which I don't totally agree with, but if you use that to lure people in to go deeper into your other stuff on your website, I think it works well.
Absolutely, right? You provide them some links and say, hey, you know what, guys, this is what we did this week. Check it out. And within those links, they'll be able to navigate your website. And from that, I know when they go to different articles, they'll be able to maybe listen to a podcast, or maybe they'll read a different article, and they'll be able to just kind of navigate through your website and my site. And sometimes even we've had opportunities to link certain articles because they make sense to link on each other's website as well. So it's a great way to have people see, you know, that there is a lot of collaboration and that we've gone through, and they can still get a lot of value from either one of us.
Yeah, and it's a blog partnership, right? I mean, blogs grow together. When you have 2 or more people working together towards the same ends and same objectives, there's so much more opportunity to cross-promote and work together and grow together. So that's one of the really great things about how we have things set up. And I think there's more and more involvement that we're going to do, more enmeshment, right?
Absolutely, you know. And so I know we're on episode 50. I'm pretty excited. So maybe why don't we start off and tell a little bit about what we've learned throughout the last 50 episodes, because I know when we first started, you know, I was very new to podcasting. You'd been podcasting for a while, as you mentioned earlier, but you know, working together was something we've never done like this. So why don't you kick it off and say, you know, maybe give a little bit about what you've learned.
Absolutely, and fair warning, I mean, this episode probably will go a little longer than the normal ones, but that's because we are talking episode 50 here. So one of the things that I learned, and I think from you as much as anyone else, is just to create better SEO friendly titles for our podcast episodes, right? We didn't start that way. We just started started with one word phrases, not necessarily long tail keywords. And we were kind of modeling ourselves after Think Act Get, which we sort of consider our sister podcast, and we'd be honored for them to consider us their sister podcast as well. But, our ideas kind of started forming around that idea. That's really how Using Your Power came to be, and it's molded and shaped and become what it is now. With Maveen and I working together, it's become its own entity, I think. So just creating better titles, I think, is something that we've been putting a little bit more focus on lately.
Absolutely, and just I've been reading tons of articles as well, a lot of them by Neil Patel, because he has a lot of stuff out there on SEO and how to make your website more SEO friendly, make your mobile SEO friendly, and of course, if we're going to be putting out a podcast, we do want people to be able to find this either on iTunes or on YouTube or on our website. So, yeah, for sure, trying to make it as SEO friendly as possible, because that's how I think you got to think about how people are looking for it on Google, right? And kind of type it in that way and make your, I guess, title the same way people look it up on Google, right? So
exactly. And I think one difference too is, Think Act Get, they're not necessarily looking to monetize. They're certainly looking to build their authority and funnel people into their individual websites. But we also build Using Your Power as something, and I think it's obvious if you've been listening thus far, that we are also trying to build this into a monetization engine for ourselves as well.
Well, absolutely, right. People who listen to the introduction of this show, they'll be able to tell that we do have a brand new course, and we're pretty excited about it. We've put quite a bit of time into the course and really wanted to give as much, value as much as we could to the listeners and the people who do purchase that product.
Absolutely, and we're going to share more about that in a moment.
Absolutely. So keep going. Anything else you've learned?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think that the shorter episode thing has been working for us. And it was something that, we were both listening to marketing school, and then we went, maybe this short episode thing, there's something to it. You can convey a lot in a short space of time and just kind of leave people feeling more motivated and inspired, rather than maybe feeling like it was a drag listening to an hour-long conversation. But that's not something we've heard from our audience specifically. So if you guys are enjoying the longer episodes better, that's fine. Just let us know. We just felt that it helped preserve the energy better throughout the episode.
I agree, right? And I know one of the things we've been able to do with having a little bit of shorter episodes is just being able to batch record a little bit more as well, right? So one of the things, again, we learned from listening to the marketing school, I know Neil and Eric, I think they do at least 10 episodes at one time, and then they just release one a day, right? So I know if we get into batch recording, something like that, even if we do 10 a day, for example, we could still release eventually 5 a week, and we just have to record every 2 weeks at 10 a day, right? So it's kind of an interesting thing that we can do, and I think most people only have an attention span of maybe 15-20 minutes anyways when they're listening to podcasts, because of the ride to work or maybe on the train or something, and an hour sometimes is a very long time.
And batching is something that we've done once, and even 8 episodes is fine, because that's actually a full month's worth of episodes for us, so that works pretty well.
Oh, absolutely.
I think, so the shorter episodes have been great. One thing that I've learned, certainly with, recording the community episode, which I refer back to from time to time, just as, I kind of shake my head and go, what was I thinking, and what was I trying to say here? And I wasn't really trying to present like sort of the negative side of the world or anything like that, but I felt like it maybe came across negative, and people don't need more negative than they're already getting. There's too much in the news and everything else that's happening. I think we want this podcast to be a positive one. It's certainly good to be aware of potential problems in community and relationships and people and all that kind of stuff, but it's really about how you manage yourself. So that was something that I've learned, I think, is not to be too negative on the show.
Agreed. I got nothing to say on that one. Yeah, for sure.
Nice. One thing that we totally believe in is getting started, and that's what we've done, right? We got started on this podcast. Like, once the idea wasn't in place, it didn't take us long to start implementing and building the website. I mean, I've built so many WordPress installations by now that doesn't take me any time to set up. So we just started publishing. That's why we're at episode 50 as early as we are, and that allows you to adjust, right? I mean, we have had some questions that we've answered through the show. We've had some feedback. We've had a lot of interest in the concept whenever we mention it, so we know that we're certainly onto something. And I think other people look in on what we do too and go, gosh, I wish I was doing something more like that, right? There's a variety of different styles of businesses out there, and other entrepreneurs will go, yeah, geez, I would love to create my own course and to be coaching people and to be helping people on a mass scale. So I think we're onto something here.
For sure, man. And that's the idea, is just, ready fire, and then aim, right? So I've heard that many times from different podcasters. I've read that in different books.
Yeah.
And sometimes it really is just kind of get started and just adjust your path as you keep going through it, right? You're never going to get things perfect. The website's probably not perfect. Right now the blogs aren't perfect because we don't have a blog yet on our website, but the podcasts aren't perfect either, right?
No, they're not.
We're just going out there, we're recording, we're trying to give the best information as possible, and if we're able to provide that information to people and they can do something with it, then I do personally feel that we've put out a perfect product because it's helping people regardless.
That's right. And I think even like episode 1, 2, 3, we were still trying to find our flow and find our groove and all that kind of stuff. But I think within a very short amount of time, we sort of found our conversational flow. I'm still not saying it was perfect. I think through experience, we've just gotten better and better and better. And I think we'll continue to improve as we go. But I think we found our flow fairly early on in the process, which has really helped and has been encouraging to both of us, I think.
Absolutely. And, one of the things that we mentioned in episode 1 was going back to episode 1 after we hit some milestone episodes, such as 50 or even 100. So I'm actually going to go back to episode 1, have a listen, because, there's a lot of changes that we'll be able to see that we've gone through and how we've grown.
Well, it's so funny, Mav, because even your voice sounds different on episode 1.
It does. Well, we're also making up words on episode 1 too, right? So
Deferry.
Yeah, deferry or something like that.
Yeah,
When I was trying to say definitely. So, but that's where the nerves come in and lack of confidence in front of the microphone. Now, very different, right? And as we go from 50 to 100, that's just going to get better and better.
I think so. And that's great because it really hones our public speaking skills in a way too. Maybe it's not quite as much pressure as a camera in front of you or audience in front of you, but there's still a certain amount of pressure.
Oh, absolutely, right. And we don't re-record this. We do all this in one take as well, right?
We do.
We're not trying to be perfect, but we are trying to be real to people and say, you know what, this is who we really are. This is the information that we want to give you. We can cut and paste and make it the best and try to trick people, but, that's not who we are. We want to just be authentic.
Yeah, and there's very little editing right now. We might change the occasional thing, but not a whole lot. So most of the conversation, it just gets recorded, rendered, and put out there. So exactly. It's pretty raw. Another thing, I think collaboration has been huge with what we're doing. Collaborating with the right people is awesome. Finding the right people can sometimes be difficult, but Mav, you and I have a pretty good partnership, I think, and we've been able to work together without getting on each other's nerves too much. And I think we've built a good relationship over time.
Yeah, man, I know we haven't had an argument yet, so that's pretty good. And we've tried to push each other a little bit on the podcast, and maybe the next, the next 50, we'll try to push each other a little bit more and really try to stir the pot a little bit. But, that's a good thing. I think it is a good way to get us to think a little bit outside of the box as well, and maybe get us to maybe go research and then maybe do another podcast on a similar topic again, where we can then back up our own points that were right or wrong.
Yeah, and I think that's another thing that really the podcast has done is, it forces us to research, to read articles, to look at different things, to find different sources and different stimuli and input in our life and bring it to the show so that we have something valuable to share on these topics that we continue to come up with.
Yeah, for sure. And I think you've probably got a lot of the same points I had for things I've learned as well. One of the things I know is I think we're both of us are very confident in our voice as well. Yeah, we may stumble a couple of words here and there. That's fine. That's a natural thing to do. It's not natural to have a microphone in your face and be talking to a microphone versus having a casual conversation with somebody. Like, if we were sitting at for a coffee or having a beer or something, it'd be a very different type of conversation, a little bit more casual, but we'd still have the same type of confidence, and I think we've both had an opportunity to develop that type of confidence in front of the microphone. I know you've had a lot more experience, but I think we're almost at par with that. I'd like to think at least.
Nice. Well, if you stay steady and you're consistent in what you're doing as a podcaster, I think that's when you see more results. I had a little bit of a blank in there, and I wasn't doing it for a while, and wasn't even sure that I was going to get back into it. But that's kind of when I ran into James Franco, and that's changed my life in a significant way. I would say, especially my business life, and continues to have a significant impact on what I'm doing and where I'm going. So
yeah, and there's going to be more to come from that, because I know you did join his course as well very recently. So
yeah,
there's going to be a lot of cool things coming down the pipe, at least on that end.
Yeah, I did join Super Fast Business, so that's been really cool as well.
Super fast business.
Yeah, man.
It's a little plug for James. Why not? He's helped us quite a bit. And, not that he's helped us by talking to us, but just having a show and saying, hey, you guys could do something like this as well. Not words that he used, but we just kept listening to the show and said, you know what, we could do this because this is pretty easy. We like the format. It was really, we can make it an hour like when we first started, but then we really shortened it up because it just made more sense.
Yeah, we've learned a lot just from having that access to that great content. Anything else that you've learned you want to share?
Yeah, man, for sure. So there, one of the things was to keep the information simple for people to digest. I think that made a lot more sense for the shorter episodes, like you said earlier. I noticed some of the first couple episodes, we want to talk, we want to give out as much information as possible, but sometimes when you give out too much information or the information is going on tangents, right, it can be a little bit harder to digest because you give people just, more information to go and research potentially, and it might take them into a deeper hole that they really didn't want to go into. Yeah. So I think the 15-minute format has really been good for us because it allows us to stick to the main points. We try to think about 5 each usually, and from that we have a little bit of discussion, and that's about a 15-minute show.
Yeah, exactly. I think simplicity is another thing that James really does super well. He takes very difficult concepts and simplifies them for people, and I'm learning from that too. I think it's good to use simple language. You don't necessarily need to show off the fact that you have a big vocabulary. So, and I do kind of.
Well, I try to keep it a simple vocabulary because I think I got 100 words in it. So
that's right. No, I think it's better for most people.
Yeah, no, for sure. And one of the things I did also learn is, I kind of knew this from writing blogs on Discover Your Life Today, but when we started the podcast, I didn't realize how many different places we could actually post our blog to or our podcast to, right? So, now I know that, once we're hit stop on the record button here, that there's still a lot more work to do, right? And it never really does stop. Yeah. There's a lot of marketing that needs to go into this, right? So it is definitely eye-opening to see, all the stuff that we've both learned about marketing and all the new tools that we keep talking and bringing to each other all the time, saying, hey, have you heard of this tool? Have you tried that tool? I know you gave me a cool video tool for YouTube, and I was telling you about a hashtag tool and stuff like that. So, there's a lot of cool stuff out there that, if we hadn't been collaborating the way we have been, maybe a lot of this wouldn't have came out that we couldn't use on our own websites as well, and our own businesses.
And at this point, we are doing a lot of repurposing, right? Our shows aren't just available on iTunes. You can also find them Stitcher and TuneIn and most places that you can find podcasts. We're also taking the time to put them all up on YouTube, and we actually recently started a Bandcamp page where you can buy 10 podcast episodes at once in a bundle, so that's kind of neat too. I think it may just be more convenient for some people who are like, yeah, I could download one at a time, but what if I could just download 10 at a time instead of having to download one? So there might be that convenience too. We're not necessarily expecting you guys or our listeners to do it. I think it's just one more way of monetization and getting our content out there and getting it heard and seen, because people can stream it right off the website and maybe make a little bit of cash on the side.
For sure. And, and it's all about support too, right? When you're doing the right things, people will support you, right? And that's all we're saying, right? If you think we're doing the right things, hey, then support us, because, we obviously put we put a lot of time into this show, and that's what we've done in obviously the first 30 or so episodes, when we're doing at least 1 hour, right, at a time. And, we still kept bringing the best content, the best information, and try to get everybody to think and, find ways to think outside the box as well, right? So, when you go to all the different websites, and if you do want to purchase podcasts in bulk, it only makes sense, right? You go out and buy, stuff at Costco in bulk to save money and save time. So it's the same type of principle.
Yeah, exactly right. And like one of the tools that I recently started getting into, and I'm just testing it out, guys, so I'm not telling you to go and buy the tool and use it yourself and incorporate it in your marketing. I need to test it out and see if it does anything for us. But I went out and got an account with OnlyWire, ONLY Wire. And it's basically just like a social bookmarking tool. You can get your content out to 50 plus networks all at the same time, depending on what you choose to connect through it. Everything from Facebook to Pinterest to StumbleUpon and all the other ones that are out there. So it's cool in its capability and what it's able to do. But that's something that I've started doing for Using Your Power as well. Something pretty much every day I'll try to bookmark one thing, and just to get more traffic and drive more links to it.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and that's kind of a cool thing because you showed me kind of your process too, and now that includes that. You know, even if you're just testing it out, it's kind of a neat thing, right? And we'll find out, I guess, in 30 days if it made a difference, if it didn't make a difference. I know one of the things we've seen is a huge growth in our numbers, and I mean for us it's a huge because we're just starting this off. We're only on episode 50, you know, but you know, monthly we're getting almost 400 or 500 visits to the website that are unique where people are listening to our podcast. So I mean that's pretty big for us.
Yeah, we are getting a good number of listeners. I think it was something like 700 listeners.
Oh, was it at least 700 the other day?
Well, maybe it was 400 or 500. It was somewhere in that range. So we are getting a lot of podcast listeners. We're not getting tons of traffic to our website yet, but I think that's just something that will follow.
Yeah, for sure. You know, well, you got to start somewhere, right? You know, no one started at a million the first day, so we got to work our way there. And you know, we're only on episode 50, and we're still in our infancy. So a lot of times people don't find you until episode 200-300, right? So I mean, we're going to keep building to that number, and hopefully people will find us and keep giving us the encouragement we need.
Yeah, that's a great mindset.
You know, one of the other things I did find out when we're thinking about different topics of this show, one of the things was, you know, try to find topics that are interesting and as well as relevant to the listeners, right? So, I mean, we're still trying to figure out exactly what people are trying to, I guess we're trying to figure out why people are coming and what people are trying to get from the show, right? And I think that's why we went down to that 15-minute because, you know, we can pack the same relevancy into a 15-minute show and we can do more of them at the same time.
Yeah, that's a good point because you can really test out more content and more content ideas just by putting out more podcasts like that. So we can see the visitors, we can see the number of views on YouTube, we can see downloads per episode. There's a lot of stats we can refer to see what people are enjoying. You know, YouTube, iTunes has got its popularity scale right next to every episode as well. So that's another place we refer to see kind of what people are listening in on.
Absolutely. And, you know, kind of a nice little transition too is, you know, some of our top podcasts came out of that type of thinking is, you know, finding what's going to be relevant and what are people really going to find interesting to listen to, right? So why don't you start with one and we'll just kind of go back and forth on naming them.
Sounds good. Yeah, I think one of the first ones that has gained some traction, it seems, is our episode on entitlement, which makes sense. I think it's a common term that's thrown around there a lot, especially with reference to Generation Y, just because we might feel entitled to own something or have something. But I think it's important to remember that, you know, nothing happens on a timeline. We have such huge expectations from parents and peers and friends and all that. They think, well, you get your first car at 16, you get married at 20, you have your first kids at 25, you become the executive of a company at 30, you retire at 65, and blah, blah, blah. Societal expectations, it just goes on and on and on and on. And you know what? I mean, I'm living proof that few things just kind of happen on an exact time frame like that. Just because you're a certain age doesn't mean certain things have happened.
One thing I just like what you said is societal expectations will create suicidal expectations.
Oh man.
Eventually, right? So that's kind of what came to my mind as soon as you said that.
Dang, man.
But it's true, right? If you keep thinking about other people and trying to please them, you know, you're only going to end up killing yourself eventually, right? If it's not in real life, it's just mentally or physically or emotionally killing yourself, right? So kind of made me think about that because I think it's true.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah. So one of the things also, you know, one of the episodes that we thought were awesome and people did as well was finding enlightenment in a technology world or a tech world, right? You know, I think more and more you will see people with phones in their hands and tablets and you know, earphones on their heads, and now even with these VC glasses and stuff or the VR glasses, and you know, more and more people are being you know, inundated by technology, and I think people are still wanting to find some sort of enlightenment, right? So they are trying to find ways to be enlightened. I also think it was a little bit of a different type of topic, saying, hey, you could possibly find enlightenment with technology because we've been only taught about finding enlightenment without technology.
Yeah, I think it is a fascinating concept, and I think it was a title that you came up with, right? So I think, yeah, it's just right off the bat, it's something that you would go, that's interesting. I would like to learn more about that and see how that's changed or how that would be any different. And in a way, it's not, right? And maybe you could find some enlightenment through technology. Another episode was Epiphanies. I think maybe much like the same way I think about this, other people think about whether, you know, where epiphanies come from and how they're formed and Is it because we take in all the stimuli and then it sort of, manifests through our various ideas coming together in our mind and the background processes of our subconscious? Or how exactly does it just come out of nowhere? Like with spirituality, is it up there in the ether and it comes down at the right time? I don't really know. And I don't think we had an answer, but we definitely shared some ideas on that.
Yeah, I thought it was a pretty cool topic that you brought to the table, David. And, I know when I joked about it saying, Epiphanies, I think it was January 5th is an actual day about the three wise men or something like that.
Yeah.
But I knew that's not what we were going to be talking about on that topic. So, one of the other topics was about time and money. And I think a lot of people are really concerned about owning their own time and having enough money to survive until retirement and after these days, right? So, that was a great episode where we're teaching people a little bit about, at least telling people about how to control your time and money a little bit more than you may already be doing. And if you're already having, prosperity in, controlling your time as well as having a lot of money to do what you want, then hey, you know what? It's a great episode to listen to again and just make sure you're still continuing to do the right things over and over again.
Yeah, and I named the categories of the different kind of people that exist, right? People that say they don't have the time, but they have enough money, but not enough money, but a lot of time. I mean, that's kind of how things go. And ideally, you want to find some kind of equilibrium that's right for you. We talked, another episode is discussing how to amplify the power of your mind. Again, I think, we're kind of newsjacking in a way. We're picking up on another topic that's being discussed out there with Addicted to Success and stuff like that. But it really is kind of a cool thing to think about, what could we do? And I think Tim Ferriss' Tools of Titans is a great book that has a lot of suggestions and probably unique approaches or things you wouldn't really think to do to amplify the power of your mind.
Absolutely. And, and I was listening to that episode and I just really liked it. And I thought it was a kind of a neat one. And more people are trying to find ways to think outside the box. And that's kind of like the idea of that episode was anyways, right? So.
Yeah, absolutely.
The next one is, I guess, your concept of God determines your attitude
towards life.
Yeah. Perfect. So, that was another one too. I thought it was kind of an interesting one that you brought. I think that was based on a book that you had read by Joseph Murphy, if I'm correct.
Exactly. And that's why I thought it would be worth bringing to the table.
Yeah. And, and still to this day, I believe that's still one of the top blog articles on your separate website as well.
The Power of Your Subconscious Mind. Yeah.
Right on. And I think it really connected to people, right? It's the concept of God. It's a very, people are always wondering who God is or what God could be. Is it them or is it something else, or is God within or God without? And that's why I think that finding enlightenment and this God one really worked well with our listeners, because it is something that people are still wondering about. I think when we're born, we ultimately are going to pass away, and in between we always try to figure out the meaning of life, and enlightenment and God do help you find that out.
Definitely. This next episode came essentially from a listener question, right? So how to organize your workspace. I think that is probably something a lot of people think about is, you go to work and you have all this stuff and, unfinished documents and documents that haven't been filed away and files on their computer, and it just goes on and on and on. And then the mess is just amplified by everybody else's mess. So you got to start somewhere. I think this episode may have been better served with our 15 to 20 minute format, because we might have went on and on about it. But other than that, I'm certainly proud of what we were able to share.
Yeah, for sure. And again, like you said, this was a listener request, right? And it was a buddy of mine that was listening to this, and I'll give a shout out to him again for giving us a great topic to bring up, right? Because this is something that he was dealing with at work. So thank you very much, Rajiv, for giving this to us. I know he's mentioned a couple other topics that I'll bring to you when we get together, because he's kind of got the same idea as me, right? We should be talking about some relevant stuff that people are thinking about out there, but also things that maybe get people to think outside the box a little bit as well. So he's got a couple other topics that he's given me, so I'll bring that to you as well.
Great, man. I like that a lot. Look forward to it.
And one of the last ones that we thought that weren't going to maybe do as well as it actually did, and this is a really good one, was why having a team is important in success, right? And I think we brought that topic out there, but and it kind of made sense, because we're a team, we work together, and it is important to be able to work together and understand each other's strengths. And I think that's what the idea of that podcast was, is if you can understand how to work in a team, you will be able to have success, just like what me and David over here are starting to experience. We're not saying we're making thousands of dollars a day, but we're starting to see that we're able to maybe generate great leads for our business, and we'll be getting into that a little bit more again.
Yeah, and the interesting part about that is it's still a relatively new episode compared to all the others, so it's just found some early traction, which is neat to see. we're going to dive into some podcast episodes we thought would do better, or really they probably still have the potential to do better down the line, depending on what people find interesting. But, I think we would have expected a little more early traction from some of these, whether it was because of controversy or really just, clickbaity type titles. But the first one was 10 things I learned from my parents. And I would encourage everyone to go back and listen to that one, because I think we shared a lot of great insights about what both of us have learned from our parents and how that's impacted our lives.
Absolutely. And just things that you could even take and teach your own kids right now, right? I mean, or even apply to your own life. So there was some really good stuff in there. And I mean, these are the same principles that we continue to live our life by for the most part, if not all of it, right? And I know there's parts that you were saying, Mav, this is pretty cool. I never really learned that. And there was stuff that your parents had taught you, David, that I was like, you know what? My parents never taught me that. And it's kind of neat. Like, we can now implement it into our lives. And one day when we both have some kids here, not together,
no,
but when we have our families and have some kids, we'll be able to teach them those principles, or at least say, hey, you know what, listen to this episode as well, because you'll be able to really understand what we've all taken from it.
And I think we'd be curious to know what you've learned from your parents as well. So just go back into the show notes and leave a comment if that's something that intrigues you.
Absolutely. One of the other ones I thought that would do a little bit better was the Pharmaceuticals episode, right? I mean, we were trying to be a little more controversial in that episode, really talk about why we believe the pharmaceutical industry is really not having your best intent in mind. It is I want to say pretty close to $1 trillion industry, if it's not already. I know it's for sure $1 billion. But worldwide, I believe that they still are excited to keep people sick, because the more people keep paying them for medicine, the more people stay sick, and the more the pharmaceutical companies keep making in the big picture as well, right? And it's a business, and they got shareholders, and they have to find new products, and the only way you can find new products is by creating new problems. And that's kind of the idea we had behind this Pharmaceuticals, of saying, find a healthier lifestyle instead of relying on pharmaceuticals.
And at the same time, it might be good in the sense that maybe awareness is growing about this, and maybe people are beginning to realize that they don't have their best interests at heart. So, that would be the optimistic side of the whole thing.
Yeah, for sure.
The next episode we thought we might do better is buying a house, which if we look on YouTube, episode 1 has the most views, 2 took a little bit of a dip, and then 3 was back up. And so it was kind of the second episode, I think, or the second video with the most views. So I don't think it's been, ignored or anything, but we do think, over time, more and more people are going to be making that decision as to whether they're going to buy a house, and hopefully they'll do more research than just looking at the mortgage rates, right? Hopefully they'll consider more holistically, why should I buy a house? Is it important for me to buy a house right now? Do I really need a house based on where my goals are and where I'm thinking about going in my future? And I would say a lot of the time the answer is actually no.
Right. And this one, again, it's not something that everybody's doing every day, right? Not every day is someone going to go buy a house. So, but if you do know somebody who's going to be looking to purchase a home or is considering it, I might get them to listen to this episode, because we do talk about some of the upsides and the downsides of ownership.
Yeah, right on.
One of the episodes I thought that would be a lot better was maybe 10 ways to make $100, right? And the reason for that was, a lot of people complain about not having money, and I know $100 is not a lot, but it's not that hard to put a 0 or 2 zeros or 3 zeros behind that $100, right? And make $100,000 a year or a day or whatever you wish to, right? It was really try to give people an idea to think outside the box and really get them to say, you know what, I'm already doing certain things. Why don't I find ways to monetize it instead?
Yeah, maybe people are just looking at the number and going, it's much too small to be worthwhile. But I think it's just like you said, Mav, if you take it and multiply the ideas shared in that episode, and many of them will make you much more than just $100 if you stick to them and continue to get clients or get set up in a studio or get hired on at a certain place, you could make way more than just $100. And so that's what the whole idea was, is, if we can teach people to get $100 more or even $400 to $500 more, that could be life changing. So
absolutely. And I love what you said about $400 or $500. In most cases, if someone can make $400 or $500 a week on the side more than they're making right now from their full-time job,
that's
typically
huge.
They can pay for babysitting with that money, right, for the month, and then they don't have to pay from their pocket. They're really paying from their on the side business, right, and or on the side hustle, whatever they want to call it.
Absolutely, man. Totally true. So that's why we'd recommend having another listen. Another one is to finance or not to finance. And really, this is kind of this beginning of this conversation about whether to buy or lease or to finance a car, because I might be looking at getting a car here in the near future, depending on the state of my vehicle. Which is changing, but I think right now the signals don't even work properly, so that's not a good thing. I probably should take it in here soonish. I think it also needs an oil change.
I love how you said soonish. It just sounds like you're not taking it in.
Yeah, I will need to do though. It's just so busy sometimes, right? But yeah, I think that's a major consideration, right? Because when we started looking, I couldn't find anything on the market that was really going to be a decent deal. And sometimes that can be a hard thing when you're looking in a certain price range, like $3,000 or $2,000 or maybe $4,000 if you're willing to spring a little bit more money. You may not find exactly what you're looking for, and that's kind of the case at the time. So, but maybe now things have changed again, and I could find more cars on the market.
Absolutely, things always keep changing and whatnot, right? So, one of the things I do like that we've done in this last 50 episodes, I guess 49 episodes, we did it 49 episodes ago. One thing we did was we introduced our online business program. Online business made simple, right? And again, you can find that at usingyourpower.com/course. Kind of a neat thing we put together, and initially we were thinking about just, I believe, releasing them as regular podcasts, and we said, wait a minute, maybe we have a better idea here. Maybe we have a business idea on our hand instead, right? I mean, it took us maybe about 30 episodes to figure it out that we could put out products. Like, why weren't we putting out stuff like that, right? So, I mean, that's definitely one thing that we learned as well together, and said, hey, you know what, let's not, take away value from ourselves and our own knowledge. We can do like everybody else does, is we can, put out great content, and then also have content where people say, hey, you know what, Mav and David, we really want to buy what you guys have to say, because we want to support what you guys are doing.
Yeah, exactly. And I think in an earlier episode, we might have even made mention of the quote unquote business series. Okay, so this is what happened to it. We bundled it up, we packaged it up, we put it into a product called Introduction to Online Business Made Simple. And if you like our podcast, I mean, you're going to like this too, because it really is just, Mav and I going back and forth, very in depth. I think some of them were 80 minutes or 90 minutes long into these various business topics that we had picked out. We just began to see the potential for something a little bit more, perhaps to make it into an audio course or a product or a series that we could offer. And the cool thing about this too is, like, we got a ton of bonuses for people that are willing to maybe jump through some hoops, but not really jump through hoops. It's really simple, straightforward.
It's answering 3 questions.
Yeah, exactly. And then we're willing to give you a lot more. And I even said in one of my emails, look, man, like, if you guys are willing to pick this up and support us, I'm even willing to offer a little bit of personal coaching to you extra at no additional charge. I'll just set up your website for you. So if that's appealing to you, then let us know.
Oh, wow. That's pretty cool. I didn't actually know you did that. So
yeah,
a couple of things we probably should start sharing.
Yeah, absolutely.
On episode 51 forward.
Hey, I mean, that offer was specifically for my email list. So nobody's gotten in touch with me yet. But if someone takes me up on that, sure, I'll do it.
Yeah, I challenge somebody to take him up on that, because I know he's very serious about it.
Absolutely. No, I'm happy to do it.
Awesome. So why don't we just take a quick look? What do you think is going to be happening for Using Your Power over the next 50 plus episodes?
Well, there's a few things we're thinking about. Maybe I'll start with the most boring thing, and then we'll work our way from the top down after that. But we're planning to beef up our show notes, right? Just make those better. Like, we've never had the intention of just having like a 2-paragraph description on every episode. The goal was to include podcast highlights, which we've gradually been including, transcriptions, which we've been even more gradually including into our show notes. But the goal is to link out to everything that we're sharing, and maybe even include like a featured book section, depending on what where our conversation led and what book we managed to talk about, or which book we recommended in the introduction. Start to include all those things in the show notes and just make them better for the audience.
For sure. One of the things that we've talked about in starting with many different episodes as well is talking about Audible and how great Audible has been for us, and just all the different books that are available through audible.com. So if you do definitely go check out audible.com/usingyourpower, you'll be able to sign up for a free trial as well. And not only do you have access to 180,000 plus books, you do also have the ability to take those books on the go.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I downloaded a few books myself, and I check them out, and I think I'm on a subscription program with them, so I just get new credits, and then when I get too many credits, I go and buy some more audiobooks, and that's how I do it. So
It's a great way to do it, right? I mean, it's hard in a digital world. Sometimes it's really nice to have a physical book in your hand,
Yes.
but sometimes it's nice if you're sitting on the train or you're sitting in your car, or you're at the gym. It's a nice thing. You can just plug that book in and take listen to it and learn something while you're, for example, if you're in the gym, while you're working on your body, you can also work on your mind at the exact same time, right? So kind of a cool thing.
love it. It's a great concept.
One of the other things we want to start doing is probably attending a couple of more live events during the year. I know we were able to attend a couple of marketing events. We were able to attend a Canada-China business event as well. I myself have gone to a couple of events outside of our going together. You've gone to a couple as well. Yeah. Absolutely. And, but we were thinking, there's a couple of podcast summits that are coming up through Calgary as well. I know you get a chance to speak at one, so I'll let you maybe talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I'm speaking at WordCamp Calgary, which is basically for WordPress users and a place for everyone to share and learn a bit more about the power of using WordPress. And it's amazing, right? I mean, it covers almost 30% of the web at this point, but there's still ongoing discussions about, how you can manage your WordPress site, how you can secure it, what sort of plugins you can use. And there's plenty of really smart people there sharing about WordPress. So it's a really cool place to be and to be surrounded by different business owners and people who really know their way around WordPress.
For sure. And, when I first got started blogging and stuff, that's the first thing you said to me. He's like, all right, we're going to get you on WordPress. And I said, well, can't we just do a click, drag, and drop kind of website? And you just said no. Literally said no to me. He said, look, I'm going to teach you the basics so you understand how to develop your own site so you can then own it. So,
Yes.
If that company happens to go out of business for whatever reason, WordPress site, I can still make changes. And the nice thing is I didn't have to learn HTML and anything like that. I didn't have to learn like C++ or anything crazy like that. I can just, it's still very similar to click, drag, and drop idea, but it's about, staying within a platform that makes sense. There's tons of plugins as well that just really help you do everything you want to do.
Yeah, man, own the race course for sure. WordPress could go away, but if you still have it installed on your server, you could still build off of it. So, and then find something else in the interim. It just makes it so much easier. And I don't think that's likely to happen anyway.
No, I think it's just going to keep growing.
Yeah, absolutely. Another thing that we're planning to do is more affiliate marketing, which doesn't mean we haven't been doing that already. But if you buy our product, you'll certainly see that we've started implementing a lot more affiliate links into the things that we're creating right now. It's not really reflected in the website. We also don't want to just spam and overwhelm you with a ton of different links necessarily. We just want to recommend products that we've heard are good, or we think are good, or we have firsthand experience with. And those are the kinds of things that you'll certainly see more of in the future.
Exactly, and there's a lot of the stuff that we've gone through is a lot of the stuff that we use on a daily basis, right? Different plugins,
Yep.
different actual affiliates like Audible. Not necessarily affiliate with Audible, but they're sponsor of the show. But nice thing is that we do have them as an option as well. So even in our course, I think we had well over, I want to say more than 50 different products that some of them we make money on, some of them we won't make money on, but we still want to be able to provide links for people to be able to utilize that because we were able to find a lot of good use from that, and we find, hey, if you guys are just starting off, this is a great place to start because that's kind of where we are. So you're just one step behind us when you have this course in your hand.
No, that's true. And you could kind of take a look and see how we're doing affiliate marketing and then say to yourself, is that something that I would like to do? And if so, you can actually go to usingyourpower.com. We have a link in the footer that says affiliates. What's that for, Mav?
Well, you take a click it and you'll find out, I guess, eh?
Yeah, you could do it that way for sure.
Yeah, keep a little mystery.
Yeah, okay. So click it, take a look, and see if that's something you want to do.
Exactly. I think you'll enjoy it, especially if you have your own website. It's a great way to partner up with us, just to make it simple.
And which is what we want to do. We want to partner up with you guys.
Exactly. That's, and the idea of that is also, being able to have more products throughout the next 50 episodes. And the next 50 episodes, maybe another 6 to 8 months. No, it doesn't matter how long it takes us. But the idea is we're going to be working on some more products coming down the pipeline. I don't think we have too many ideas quite yet, but I know as we continue to work, we're probably going to start formatting those ideas in our mind. There's stuff that we're working on that we're not necessarily thinking of as a product right now, but as soon as we're done maybe working on it, we might say, hey, you know what? We just did a whole 1 to 10. Why don't we put that into a product and maybe let people have an option of purchasing it if they want to?
Yeah, the whole Bandcamp page thing kind of factors into that as well. But it might even be the type of thing where we take the existing course, get a bunch of feedback, which is kind of the objective, and then improve it and make it better based on that. So we might even just have more versions of the same product in a sense. But if we're also looking for suggestions as far as what it is that you think you need the most help with, and that's what we want to create products around as well. So, it's a little bit of a guessing game sometimes, especially, we're still very early into this, and we're going to take probably next time we develop anything, we're going to take a closer look around the web to see maybe what's missing and what sort of niches we could fill in the kind of things that we're already doing. But, we put something out there, just like you said, Mav, to give people an opportunity or a chance to support us in the way that, because we're creating great content.
Absolutely. And more tools will keep coming out. So, it'll give us a reason to continue to do a version 2, a version 3, a version 4 of our online business product already, right? So as that keeps coming, as well as adding new products as well, right? So,
And the other thing is we've kind of started, or we have our early beginnings of a marketing company, and that's because we're seeing demand. So often you'll kind of just take a wild stab in the dark and see if something sticks or not. I don't think using your power is a wild stab in the dark. I think it's something that really people need, and we're going to see people, coming up through the generations that go, hey, personal development, what is this? I really want to learn about it. There's some stuff that I want to get into and maybe grow myself. So we know that is certainly part of the whole thing too. But with starting our marketing company, we just saw people raise their hands and say, yeah, me too. Yeah, me too. So we're like, you know what? There's demand here. And we don't have necessarily anything super official set up. We will very soon, I'm sure. But basically, we're helping people with, crowdfunding campaigns or their social media or online marketing or digital marketing. We're just looking at different aspects of that and looking to help them out grow their online presence.
Yeah, absolutely, right. And you got to start somewhere, and that's kind of where we did, right? Listening to someone like James or Neil and Eric on their separate shows, we found that, it was great information in a podcast, and then we looked at exactly what they're doing. Well, they're talking about marketing, and that's exactly how you grow a business, right? Marketing and sales, and those are your two main, separate entities within your business, but they work very well together, right? And you're good at the marketing side, I'm good at the sales side. I'm teaching you sales, you're teaching me marketing, and you're teaching me about computers, and we're just working together in different ways, and we're putting that into a business idea and saying, why not put out something? Because you're right, more and more people are going on social media, and less people are understanding how they can get a reach to the people that they're trying to reach because they're on social media, right? I was even talking to a buddy of mine in Thailand yesterday, and he said the exact same thing. He's just in school right now, and he's taking marketing. I said, hey man, when you're done, let me know. Because I do feel there's a lot of marketing that we can teach you, and you can teach us because you just finished your course. And he's in Thailand, so it's like, hey, why don't you start your own marketing company in Thailand and just help people do it there, right? People out there still need help.
Yeah. Exactly. And I think part of it too is like long term, sure, we would love to make more of our income off of speaking, off of books, off of courses and the other things that we create. But we also want to go where the demand is. And I think that's part of what this move is. So there's a lot of possibilities, and we can't necessarily definitively say it's going to go one direction or another in the future. But there is an opportunity here to build a marketing company, and it's something that excites and interests us.
Absolutely, and we're excited, and we got a client we're kind of working with right now anyway, so like you said, on the crowdfunding side of things. So we're gonna learn from that campaign, and our goal obviously is to be successful. So regardless of how much time we have to put into it, effort we're going to put into it, we're going to ensure that we are a success, or our client is a success in the end, right? Because it's not about us. Marketing is never about the people doing the marketing. It's about the person that you're going to be sitting in front of and helping that person grow, right? Regardless of how we help that person grow, if it's mentally, spiritually, in their business or whatnot, right? Because we're still going to give out the best information as possible, even based on the person we sit down with, right? And sometimes, we might not even end up charging some people, because sometimes it's just so simple saying, here, we looked at your website. These are a couple of things that we think you could be doing to dramatically change, your results. You don't really need us. We could charge you hundreds and thousands of dollars, but, if you're willing to do a little bit of the work, if you have the time, go ahead and do it. We'll even show you how to automate these things in some cases.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can certainly expect crowdfunding to be a future topic for a podcast, or even potentially a course. We'll see what happens.
I think a course is probably where we're going.
Yeah, it very well could be, especially after running 1 or 2 or 3 campaigns and with some experience, right?
Absolutely.
Cool, man. Any final thoughts?
Stay tuned for the next 50. That's my final thought, realistically.
Yeah, man. No, it's been a lot of fun, and we look forward to creating more great content for you. So go to usingyourpower.com to check us out. You can leave comments while you're there. You can find us on iTunes. You can check out our course while you're there, and maybe try clicking on that affiliate link in the footer.
Yeah, I think if you click on that link, you'll definitely find a way to partner up with us and find some real benefit for yourself.
Right on. So we'll talk to you next time.
Awesome. Have yourself a great day. Today's podcast was brought to you by Introduction to Online Business Made Simple, a 6-part audio course that teaches you how to get started with your online venture. Find it at usingyourpower.com/course.